There are some doors that are not closed. Time itself quietly shuts them. There are some courtyards where laughter once echoed, but now there is only silence, and the scent of a mother's tears in the air. This is the story of Zulekha Begum, a mother whose life tested her every single day, and who quietly endured every pain, every hardship as a mother. Zulekha Begum was now 60 years old. She was no longer the mother who used to be busy in the kitchen all day, who would save the last piece of curry for her children, who herself would eat the edges of the chapati and save the soft center for her son. No, now that mother just sat, silent, alone, a prisoner of time gone by. At any time of day, Zulekha Begum's world had shrunk to one room, an old trunk covered with a stained cloth, a pillow which had now lost all its stuffing from absorbing Zulekha's tears, and a window from which only sunlight entered, but never hope. On the wall hung an old photograph of her husband, a youthful picture that would make Zulekha Begum's lips curl into a slight smile. But her eyes would then well up. She remembered how she would prepare his tea every night before giving him his medicine, how she had mortgaged her bangles for the children's school fees, how she would climb onto the roof in the scorching summer sun to dry clothes, and at the same time pray to Allah, "O Allah, may my children succeed. I want nothing for myself. Just their happiness is enough." But now, those very children, that successful offspring, didn't need Zulekha Begum. They were merely bothered by her presence. Her son, Asif, went to the office every day, bought perfumes for his wife, chocolates for his children, but not even a greeting for his mother. Her daughter, Rani, lived at the other end of the city. She would visit once a month and immediately say, "Ami, you live in such an old era. Get a phone, watch TV. The world has changed." Zulekha would just offer a faint smile. Who would understand that her world had already died within her? In the corner of the room, that old prayer bead was still there. Earlier, it used to be used 5 times a day. Now even that prayer bead was tired, just like Zulekha. One day, Nazira Kala came. Lovingly, she said, "Zulekha, say something. You used to be the whole world for your children. Why are you so quiet now?" Zulekha slowly replied, "Kala, now my heart doesn't desire anything. All my life I collected things, shared love, gave blessings. Now I just want one thing: peace." Kala remained silent for a while, then quietly draped a warm shawl over Zulekha's shoulders. This was a moment when eyes didn't need to form words, just a silence that was the heart's scream. Zulekha's trunk was still closed. Every paper, every old photograph, every gift hidden inside was now etched onto the walls of her heart. One day she asked her son, "Asif, if I'm not around, where will this trunk go?" Asif, with his eyes fixed on his mobile, carelessly said, "Ami, this is all old stuff. We'll give it to someone, or to the junk dealer." Zulekha's heart felt as if someone had squeezed it. Those very things that were the memories of her life. For her son, they were just junk. After that day, Zulekha said nothing to anyone. She would just sit quietly after every night prayer, looking at the sky from the window. Somewhere far, very far, a star would twinkle. Perhaps it was her husband, or perhaps the hope she was still clinging to. And then, one day, Zulekha closed the window. She put the prayer beads away. She removed and cleaned the cloth on the trunk, and slowly began to put everything away. Zulekha Begum's heart was now connected not to the world, but to her Lord. Now she didn't want to sleep. She wanted to be awake, with her Creator. Now she wanted nothing, no possessions, no people, just peace. I hope this continuous paragraph format works well for your speech. Some relationships cannot be expressed in words, and a mother is the most precious, the most silent, and the greatest among them. Zulekha Begum's sacrifices were not recorded in any book, nor was any film made about them, nor any poem recited. Yet every day, with every breath, she fulfilled her duty as a mother. At the time of her marriage, Zulekha was only 19 years old, with little education or understanding of the world, just a new home, a dream, and a passion for service in her heart. Her husband, Yunus, was stern by nature but loyal. In the beginning, he would get angry at every little thing. But in his heart, there was respect for his wife. Zulekha never argued. Instead, she would agree to everything with a nod of her eyes. When their first son, Asif, was born, their financial situation was dire. Zulekha sold her dowry and pawned her wedding bangles to pay the doctor's bills. People would say, "What a simple woman, she doesn't even demand her rights." But she would say, "Relationships are built not by demanding rights, but by giving." When Rani was born, there was an atmosphere of joy in the house. But for a mother, joy only means the smiles of others. Even with a fever, she would breastfeed her child, and if she couldn't sleep at night, she would recite Ya Ali Madad on her prayer beads, saying, "May my children be safe, that is enough." Time passed. Her husband's business failed, and then he suffered a heart attack. Zulekha started cleaning houses during the day and massaged her husband's feet at night. There came a time when her hands became rough, but her son's uniform was still clean and ironed. The neighbors often taunted her, saying, "You're a widow now, live your life sitting down." But Zulekha replied, "I have to educate my son, I have to marry off my daughter, I don't have time to sit." When Asif achieved a position in school, Zulekha washed her old dupatta and made a flag for her son from it. People were surprised. She was crying with joy. She said, "My son has given his mother the right to walk with her head held high for the first time." When Rani grew up, suitors came to ask for her hand. Zulekha dressed her daughter in her Mendi sari, which she had preserved for 40 years, and just told her daughter, "Daughter, bear everything in your in-law's house, but never forget your mother." Then came the moment that broke Zulekha from within. Her husband's demise. Life seemed to have stopped. But Zulekha kneaded her tears into the dough for bread and never let her children feel that their mother was broken. Zulekha was now simultaneously playing the roles of cook, laundress, teacher, nurse, and friend day and night. For her, Eid meant children's clothes, and Muharram meant the flag of Mullah Abbas, A.S., which she would make herself, sew, and hoist on the roof. She would say, "If my children are in pain, how can I be happy?" Once, when Asif was sick with a high fever, the doctor said the medicine was expensive. Zulekha sold the ring her father had given her and bought the medicine for her son. As soon as Asif recovered, he asked, "Ami, where did that ring go?" Zulekha smiled and said, "Son, it went into the treasure of dreams." When Rani once came home upset from her in-laws, Zulekha kissed her forehead and said, "Daughter, a mother's lap is a refuge, but your in-laws are your honor. Go back and learn patience." Life tested her at every turn, but she succeeded in every trial, because she had neither power nor wealth, only prayers and sacrifice. Now, at 60 years old, as Zulekha sat alone, all those moments played like a film in her eyes. The first night of her marriage, her husband's last breath, her son's first day at school, her daughter's nikah, and that last prayer. "Oh Allah, I have given everything. Now just give me peace." Some wounds are not on the body. They are in the soul, and only a mother feels them. Zulekha Begum sacrificed her entire youth, her peace, her sleep, everything for her children. But now, in her old age, when all she needed was love and a few moments of affection, she found only silence, coldness, and indifference. Her son, Asif, who used to sleep in his mother's lap as a child, now wouldn't even glance at his mother while talking on the phone. The mother yearned countless times a day just to hear one sentence, "Ami, how are you?" But Asif had no time. There was time for the office, friends, wife, children, everyone except the mother who endured pain to bring him into this world. Zulekha Begum still made tea every morning and placed it outside her son's room. But the cup would return with cold tea. No words, no greeting, no thanks. Sometimes looking at the empty cup, she would say to herself, "I wish this cup could speak," and say, "Ami, your love is still warm today." One day Asif came and said, "Ami, we've decided. We'll give your room to the child now. If you want, you can take the room on the roof, or go to Nazira Kala's place for a few days." Zulekha Begum said nothing. She just gripped the corner of her shawl a little tighter in her fist and turned her face towards the window, sitting there. Rani, her daughter, now visited once a year, and that too, not just to meet Ami, but to seek refuge from her in-laws. She would come and complain, "Ami, you taught me nothing. How to live in the world. How to manage people." The mother would listen. She would endure, just as she had done all her life. But when Rani left, she would only say, "Maybe I can come next time, depending on the children's holidays." One day, Nazira Kala came, worried by Zulekha's silence. She said, "Zulekha, say something. How can your children treat you like this?" Zulekha slowly said, "Kala, when you water the seed at the time of planting, but the fruit of the harvest turns out bitter, then the farmer blames himself." Now everything in the house had changed. The walls were newly painted, the rooms redecorated, but the color of the mother's heart was only loneliness. There was laughter and joy in the TV lounge, but in Zulekha's room there was only the echo of her prayer beads. Her son's wife, Aliyah, often objected to the mother's ways. "Ami, leave these old ways. Times have changed now." Sometimes she would say, "Why do you talk so much? Just stay quiet." Zulekha Begum would fall silent, because a mother's heart doesn't know how to scream. It only knows how to pray. One day, Asif's children said, "Abu, a strange smell comes from Dadi's room." Asif replied, "Old people are just like that. They keep old things, old talks, and old breaths their whole lives." Zulekha Begum heard this. She was inside the room, beyond the wall, and beyond her heart. That night, as she lay her head on the pillow, she only said, "Oh Allah, I have become a burden now. Just call me to you." One day, she went to the market for the first time without anyone, neither her son, nor her daughter-in-law, nor any companion. She fell on the way. A stranger woman helped her up. "Mother, why are you wandering alone?" Zulekha replied with a faint smile, "Daughter, there is no place for me at home. Now the road is my shawl." When she returned, the door opened late. Her son said, "Ami, you shouldn't go out now. It embarrasses us." Zulekha's heart didn't break hearing that sentence. It had already broken 1,000 times. Just that day, she took a shawl from her trunk and prepared a small bag for herself. At night, her son asked, "Ami, why have you prepared this bag?" Zulekha said, "Just need to go to Nazira Kala's for a few days." Her son said, "Okay, all right." No attempt to stop her. No questions. No remorse. Sometimes silence is the loudest scream. Zulekha Begum spent her entire life just listening to her children's needs, their complaints, their desires, and now the time had come for the mother to make one last decision for herself. Many days had passed, and Zulekha Begum's presence in her son's house had become merely an obligation. No one spoke to her. Her medicine didn't come on time. Her room wasn't cleaned. And most importantly, no one looked into her eyes with genuine feeling to ask, "Ami, are you happy?" Day and night, Zulekha Begum prayed, reciting her beads, asking only one thing, "Oh Allah, keep my children safe. and show me the path where there is only your peace. One night, Zulekha stayed awake for a very long time. There was a moon in the sky, and in her heart a weariness not just of the body, but of the soul. The next morning, she emerged from her room, draped in her white shawl. From her trunk, she took out only 3 things: an old Quran, her husband's last handkerchief, and the prayer she had written on paper, "O Allah, grant me my share of peace." She looked at each item in the room one last time. She gently ran her hand over them, bid farewell to the walls with tear-filled eyes, and slowly said, "You were all my own. But time has proven that nothing can be kept forever. Now I must go to a place where perhaps there is also a place for me." She picked up a small bag and knocked on Nazira Kala's door. Kala opened the door and was startled. "Oh, Zulekha! You, at this hour?" Zulekha, with a faint smile, said, "Kala, I don't want to go back now. Do you have a corner for me?" Nazira Kala's heart seemed to break. "Oh, are you crazy? You are not a guest to me. You are my sister." Kala led her inside, gave her tea, and silently held Zulekha's hands. Zulekha just said, "I have given so much, Kala. Now I only want to receive peace." The next day, a message was sent to the Imam of the mosque. "Maulvi Sahib, if there is a place for a widowed woman in your madrasa, please let me know. I wish to spend my last days remembering Allah." The Maulvi Sahib humbly said, "Bibi, your coming will be an honor for us. We will all serve you, just keep us in your prayers." Zulekha Begum wrote a letter to her son, without any complaint, without any bitterness. "Son Asif, I have always prayed for you, but perhaps my presence has now become a burden for you. I forgive you, and I pray to Allah that your children are never far from you. I am going towards my Lord. In these last days of my life, I need the company of my Lord, not people." She also sent a letter to Rani. "Daughter, you were always the peace of my heart. If you ever miss your mother, touch my prayer beads. I am leaving my heart in them." Zulekha Begum went to the madrasa, a small room, a sharpay, bed, a prayer mat, and peace. She spent her days reading the Quran, praying for the children, and at night, talking to Allah while looking at the stars. One day, the Maulvi Sahib asked, "Bibi, don't you miss your children?" Zulekha smiled and said, "Maulvi Sahib, they are part of my prayers, not my heart. My heart now belongs only to Allah." A few months later, Asif received news. A woman had passed away in a madrasa, about whom everyone said she was very pious and patient. When Asif arrived at the madrasa, he saw his mother's body, wrapped in a white shroud, but her face radiated the light of peace. The Maulvi Sahib said, "Your mother prayed for every child in her last days, but the name of any son or daughter never came to her lips. She only used to say, 'O Allah, those whom I nurtured, you take care of them.'"